Good evening, Monadnock region, and welcome to the new and improved Space Lounge. We're here, Go Mo Tonight, the Monadnock region's only locally focused weekly comedy podcast. I'm your host, Chris DiLoretto, here with my lovely co-host,
Zoe Roten-Heinsman.
And the reason that you could see us doing this little jig during that music, which hopefully worked, we'll find out after the fact, I guess. And this is, to be sure, Chad, Soundlord, we're not trying to cut you out of a job here or anything like that. But we have a new platform that we're testing out this episode. So hopefully it works out. We believe it's superior to our old one. So I'm not super concerned that the quality could possibly be, that it would go down. Because the idea of all this, actually, it's slightly more expensive, but we got some cool features as part of this. The audio and video quality are supposed to go up. And it makes it really easy for me to potentially play our intro music. I think so. So usually Chad Soundlord, who I mention at the end of every program, he adds that stuff in, and does a great job mixing it. So we'll see if it's a nice balance or not. But it's cool to try this out. If this platform works out, guys, we're going to be able to do live programs from this studio, where to like YouTube and Facebook and for especially for any audience lurkers out there, we have the potential during these live broadcasts to actually have what are called audience members who you don't see on there, but we can bring you on as a caller. We can have live call-in episodes, which is just that just sounds like a boatload of fun to me. I hope it does to you as well. So welcome. This is the 19th of January, 2023, which is a decent year. The Celtics have just defeated the Golden State Warriors for the first time in this basketball season, 121-118 in overtime. I say that because I have been looking over my screens over here for the last 20 minutes as we got ready until the game ended, and it just happened. Great game. Rivals from the NBA Finals last season, they lost to them. It was very tragic. And then this year, despite the fact that the Celtics are the best in the NBA and have just been beating the shit out of everyone, including absolutely, powerful teams, right? The Warriors, who've had a worse record than many of these teams, just come in and there's something psychological. They just the Warriors are great, but they just get in their heads and they just beat them. Not this time, everybody, not this time. So anyways, this episode will probably come out in about a week, maybe midweek next week. But the moral of the story here is that with the month rapidly coming to a close, this is already our final episode in the month of January. What do you think about that? Time passing, the month of January, it's been quiet,
Quiet, in terms of events and stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily.
Well, there's been events,
yeah.
Obviously. There's certainly in life.
January is well known as a weird month for homeschoolers. I don't know if this is true for public school, but you're done with the holiday season, and so you have these expectations that you'll just put your head down and get a lot of work done in January. But everybody I know just it just takes almost the whole month to kind of recover and get back in the groove. So it's but I think we're almost there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it applies to public school as well. And if you remember, going back many years, right? Even perhaps to my first podcast, I think I used to talk about this. But a lot of times, in terms of year planning and getting my shit together and these are my goals for the year and this is certain habits I want to do and ways I want to priorities I want to focus on and things like that. I almost never actually get that shit all in line until around February 1st, otherwise known on the pagan calendar as Imbolc. which, will be happening within a few days of this episode. So it's a thing. I really think so.
Yeah.
You can't, you kind of need January to like, all right, I know what I want to do, but like, I just can't quite line it all up yet. And you sort of take them, and it's not hibernation, everybody, not saying that, but I do think it's okay to allow that process to sort of unfold. I do think it's almost impossible to like just go quick and jump right in.
Yeah.
Which, hey, I don't know. Maybe it's just an idea, but like, because I don't either favor or oppose New Year's resolutions. Like, I don't really do it. Like I said, like I tend to use the beginning of the year as an opportunity to like assess priorities and like try to figure out what's the best things I can do to accomplish those things. I don't really like to say, I'm going to immediately have this new habit on January 1st. But if I was to do that, I wonder if it would be easier for people if they gave themselves like the whole month of January as like a ramp up, like a slow start. Like maybe I'll dabble in this a little bit. Like I'll try it out a few times. And then, all right, February 1st, I'm going in on it. Like, I don't know. Maybe they would succeed more often.
Yeah. Well, this year too, like, don't we have like a bunch of planets that just turn direct?
Yes.
Like Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde.
If you're into that sort of thing,
If you're into that sort of thing. Could help. It could help,
I think so.
That's not an every year thing, but maybe that explains some of it.
It happened, yeah, certainly happened. Yeah, this time I think it's very universal this time. Certainly the first 2 weeks in January, I don't think anybody was able to really get it together.
Yeah. But what do you think about like when, like, for a while there I was like, oh, it's post holidays, right? Like I'm usually like a take my tree down on Epiphany kind of person.
Yeah,
like, I let it go until
12
then.
days of Christmas and all.
Yeah.
Respect to the Eastern Christians as well.
Wait, don't they have like a totally different calendar?
No, yes. So, but they do Christmas, I think, on the 7th. Because of the different calendar.
January?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess,
it's right by Epiphany, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same.
Right. So when would their 12 days of Christmas be over?
I don't think they have that.
Oh. All right.
I don't think they do that.
I see, I was maybe
they do. I don't know. It would go through, much of
today.
January, in any case. Yeah, it would go till today. Yeah, it would go till today. So if they are, happy 12th night to the Eastern Orthodox. I've never heard them do that, but I love your iconography, and I hope that you have magical traditions for this 12th night.
Well, I was trying to formulate an argument that it might still be acceptable for now to be like Christmas season.
Sure.
Because I don't know, just throwing that out there, because I did.
Is that why there's still decorations up in our government?
This is what I'm wondering, because we did notice last Thursday. We haven't been there in a week, but last Thursday there were Christmas wreaths all over the library.
Yes,
and
true.
And as
very
of
nice. I don't have any. This isn't a complaint from me.
No.
I like the wreaths.
It's not a complaint. I just want to know when Peterborough's official end of Christmas is, and wondering if perhaps they followed the Orthodox calendar.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe it's just one of those things where they go out a month just to cover their bases and make sure everybody's included, kind of thing. Like
George Washington and Abe Lincoln. Just
hell yeah, MLK. Everybody's in. Everybody's in. Yeah. Well, and actually, it's an interesting point, because whereas some people, and of course this is a raging debate every year, some people get mad and some people really like it. I try not to fall into either of those camps, but people start Christmas very early, and to me, the better way to expand the Christmas season is to just not end it on Christmas or New Year's, which is the traditional way, is to continue a little bit into January. So whatever the reason that our town government has for this expansion, I think it's probably for the best.
Yeah. So not meant to be a criticism at all.
Yeah, no, but it's curious. It's certainly a curiosity.
Yeah.
I think
the wreaths and the swags still decking the townhouse exterior.
One gripe I have is that I didn't see the fire station lit up this year. They usually do bright white lights or sometimes colored lights maybe, on across the fire station. And they blast them all night. And I could be wrong. Maybe they had them and they shut them off and I drove by at a late time or something. But like, I don't remember seeing those lights and I liked them. So if you're listening,
maybe they're just waiting till they have a new.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Maybe it's like no lights until you guys vote us a new complex, which is fair. If I was the fire department, I might take that position. All right, if that's your reasoning, guys, I think that's fair. I support the fire station. Let's get it up there, and let's put in the budget for the new fire station like some kind of like built-in holiday lights that can just be turned on with a special switch during the right months of the year. It should go red, white, and blue on July 4th too. You know what I mean?
I was just thinking like different colors for that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, maybe like pink and white for Easter or something like that. You know, like. Orange for Halloween. Oh man, this would be so good. And I bet you it wouldn't cost that much. It's going to be a bunch of millions. Like you can throw in like another couple thousand for this light system. You know what I mean? I think anyways.
Should amend it, at town meeting when that item comes up.
Do we think, yes. I mean, wouldn't that be so much fun actually when this is being discussed to like raise that as a point? Be like, it's not a necessity, but we cannot underestimate the impact of positive morale among Peterboroughians, right? And
just flipped right off your tongue. Peterboroughians.
Yeah, Peterboroughians. And well, we've been tense. There's been a lot going on. I think a little bit of beauty coming from the new fire station is important.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah. So, but, I mentioned Imbolc. By the time this episode comes out, we're nearly there. And this is, considered like it. Well, it's not considered. It is the halfway point of the season of winter, like on the calendar. And so that means, 6 weeks until the first day of spring and my birthday, which is not exactly the right day, but it's right around there. And so that's coming up. But it's interesting. I was just, I commented on this to Zoe earlier as I came across, I got an email on one of the email lists, many things that I'm subscribed to anyways. And it was just mentioning the fact that, Lamass, comes out of, pagan cultures of Northern Europe, essentially. And, I have this problem. Do
you mean Imbolc, or are you trying to talk about Lamass as well?
I meant Imbolc. Sorry.
Okay.
No. I don't know why I went that way. But I meant Imbolc, which is February 1st, not Lamass. Sorry, that's August 1st. That's the opposite one. That's the exact opposite point of the calendar is Lamass. But no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Imbolc, right? And it's this old ancient in the agricultural societies thing, right? But anyways, I got this I have major issues with geography, and it's I'm not that terrible if you like give me a map and tell me to like fill in the countries, although like, don't ask me to do like Africa or, you know what I'm saying? Or South America. Like I will fuck it up. But I can do like the US, Europe, the Middle East, Asia, fairly well. I would fuck some shit up, but not too bad. Right. If I'm looking at the map, but in my head, right, there's a lot of places that I imagine actually being in different places. And, in the U.S. that manifests where, like, oftentimes I just believe that, like, it should be North and South Dakota that are up against, like, the long arm of Idaho, not Montana. Montana should be on the other side, right? And I seem to be getting better about this because I looked at a map today and I wasn't unhappy about it. Like, I was like, yeah, maybe it is, like, maybe it should be like that. I also have issues where a lot of times, and again, this is getting better too, but it used to be that I just really wanted like the upper Midwest, Minnesota and Wisconsin to swap places with Michigan. I want Michigan and the Great Lakes on the other side of those places, followed by Montana, followed by North and South Dakota. That's in my head where all of those places should be. Right. So my brain just can't really remember the layout of actual worlds. Right. But one thing that just baffles the shit out of me, right? And somehow, and because I have, I got a globe behind me. I have always been fascinated by globes. So it's not like I've never looked at this, but like I just never really grasped or like drew my hand around. But like how, until my 30s, I swear to God, or close to it, how far north all of Europe is, right? Like if you just like match it up, in terms of like where it is in terms of its relation to the equator and the North Pole, right? It's up in like Saskatchewan, and it's something like, well, let me just fucking, I'm not going to be able to show this to you, but I'm going to do this so that I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Well, I know that where I grew up in South Carolina, we're like where Morocco is.
Yes. And like where we are in, cold ass New England, right? It's like the southern half of France and like northern Italy is the European equivalent, right? And if you go up to say like Great Britain, right? They are literally up at the top. They're practically, the like parts of Scotland are basically in line with the bottom of Greenland, right? But if you just go straight across from like the middle of the UK or like Ireland, right? You're going into Newfoundland. Like you're like a little bit above Newfoundland. So like you're like really fucking far to the north. And the second part though of that I also didn't realize until around the same time in my 30s. Because I'm not really that shy about the fact that I'm a fairly US centric person. and I'm not too, and it's not an ignorance thing, right? But at the same time, I think part of it comes out of the fact that Britain, a lot of stories like say A Christmas Carol, for example, right? It's a story set in London, but there's so many American adaptations of that story and they all show that there's a shit ton of snow. Right? Like, because, right? It doesn't fucking snow in England. Like, hardly, like, I mean, it's not like snow is foreign to them and like, but they see snow, but it doesn't really snow there. Like, they don't get piles of snow in London on Christmas. And so that's like an American interpretation of this British story, for American audience. And I've always just sort of bought into it, right? And I think of, of course, like even say like Narnia, right? Where it's always, in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is written by a British guy. That's written like there's tons of snow because in Narnia, it's always winter and never Christmas. And like everyone's riding around on sleighs and shit, Yeah. So even C.S. Lewis wanted winter to be like it is in America, like, so they're way up there. And so, yeah, so that's what, people talk about the Gulf Stream, the Gulf of Mexico, warm water. It doesn't come here. It like bounces off and goes up to Europe. And that's why all of Europe gets to be, that's why like Italy and the Mediterranean aren't cold like New England or like the northeast of the United States. And why England isn't, like the northern reaches of Canada. And like Alaska and shit is where it's aligned with. So it's weird for me to think about the fact because back to the email, like it referenced the fact that say it was written by an Irish guy. The Irish folk, when they would celebrate Imbolc, there were wildflowers growing on February 1st. And so it's like, it's still winter, the season of winter, for them. It's still the cold season, but their second half of winter, things are starting to grow.
Yeah.
And that's similar with what right?
It's true. It's true. In February is the month that daffodils bloom in South Carolina. Like I always think of like daffodils in February.
That's just like it's like a crazy concept to me, and his point was almost like it struck me a little bit as, again, because these traditions kind of came out of Northern Europe, right? Where in most cases, now granted, you get into like, you keep going, east into like, Germany and shit, and it does get colder, it's, you're further away from the ocean. It's the ocean that's keeping all of these places warm. But nonetheless, these warmer areas where these traditions came out of, and it's actually, it's not the same thing, but it's a little bit like when somebody in Australia celebrates Christmas in the summertime, right? Mm-hmm. Christmas is supposed to be the winter solstice. It's not really correct, even though, like, yes, Christians who don't want to consider any other factors would be like, no, it's because Jesus was born that day, so it doesn't matter what season it is. But that's bullshit. Like, that's not how Christmas was put on that date. That's not how it works, right? It's supposed to be a winter thing. So again, it's not opposite like it is, nor, winter and summer like that. But it is sort of like, if it's a holiday that really had as a part of it, this like beginning stages, like palpable of spring, where, like you pointed out, there's like the young of the animals, right? And they can nurse.
Yeah, because I think I'm pretty sure that the word of Imbolc means like in milk, so it's like it's the time when milking starts again, and like you can.
Right, but if we have farms, that's not true here, is it?
It is, yeah, it is. Like they do start
is it because
lambing.
The cows came from Europe?
What's that?
Is it because the cows came from Europe?
It's a good question, and I think that there are farmers who, mess with that timeline a little bit so that they don't necessarily have the babies being born in the depths of winter. But my understanding is that is like lambing season is in the depths of winter.
Yeah.
Sure. Maybe there's not much you can do about it, and maybe it is because the animals came from Europe. I don't know, but I do know, like,
even like you hear. I mean, lambs were they've been. But like any place that I know of lambs in like early human civilization, right? It's warmer than it is here. So I think all the lambs came from somewhere warmer than this.
Yeah. And I guess that doesn't affect their reproductive cycle.
Yeah, they can't. I don't think they can evolve fast enough, right? Because they've only been here for a few hundred years, which is not a very long time in a biology way,
Yeah.
But
yeah, when the sheep are up at Four Winds, like the babies are being born like in the depth of the snow.
R.I.P. Four Winds.
But I will say, my chickens take a winter break. I don't supplement them with like light to make them lay all winter, which is something that some people do, and they start laying again around Imbolc because I think just like the days are long enough. I think it's just about like the power of the sun at that time, and like maybe it's having different effects depending on your climate, but I think it's like the length of the day and the power, like the strength of the sun. That's
makes sense. Really triggering these changes within.
Yeah.
That's
how I like to think about it.
Interesting, but the other part of this, and this is kind of a veering off to the side sort of thing. Is some of the fears about a possible catastrophic impact of climate change is the disruption of the Gulf Stream, because like what if it stopped doing that, right? Because of how north they are, they would just be fucked. They become like Russia. You know what I mean? Like, the whole goddamn place. Like it would be, which I think has happened. I mean, I think that like those like micro ice ages that Europe had, like I think there was like an extra small one actually in the 1800s, not that long ago. But like before then, there was a big one, I want to say like 1100s in the Middle Ages somewhere, for like 100 years, maybe 200 years, where it was like real fucking cold in like all of Europe. So I think it's happened here or there. But it becomes like a little mini ice age.
Yeah. I remember that being a really big deal like 15 years ago. I remember reading like scare pieces about how like that was going to be it. Like if that happened again, like that would be it for them. For civilization.
We don't depend on the Gulf Stream, And then it makes me think like, well, what if it just like bounced back around and we could have like tropical ass New England. I mean, I know that makes a lot of people upset. I know a lot of people are like, if we don't have snow, New England will die. I don't agree. I think it will live more prosperously, like it would be wonderful. And like, I don't mean to say fuck them about the Europeans, but fuck them. I'll take that Gulf Stream. If somebody's going to, if we can't save everybody, give me the Gulf Stream.
And we can just we could ship them our plow drivers who
Absolutely.
Need
Well,
work.
and also think about what it would do in terms of opening up opportunities for living and agriculture and commerce all the way up coastal Maine as well. You know what I mean? Because these places that are you can't just do that. You can't really live that much up there. You know what I mean? There's people there and stuff, but it's so Arctic that it's economically and populationally limited, and agriculturally certainly very limited, right? So there would need to be migrations, I think, but I think that there is opportunity there.
Yeah, I mean, humans have dealt with that for tens of thousands of years, right?
No offense, Europe. I'm sorry, but I don't know. You guys decided to decommission your nuclear plant. You know what I mean? And now you're dependent on the Russian oil, and it's going to get really cold. They're not good moves.
I don't know if I mentioned this on the show before. When I was in Germany in October, it was.
I don't think you said this. No.
It was a rule that you couldn't wash your hands with warm water, to save energy. They were already there in October. Got it cold only.
Not good.
Not good.
We don't want that to happen here. And
I may have pretended like I didn't understand that sign.
Stupid American, sorry. I don't know,
That's my German accent.
I was thinking it was just more a generic, you can't really tell where I'm from. It's a mixture of a lot of different stereotypes, but I no comprende.
Well, no, I remember everybody there thought I was French, and people kept coming up to me and speaking French. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything
I don't know in French. How do you know?
Je ne comprends pas.
Oh, nice.
It's my really bad French. I have a terrible French accent.
But just be look at this stupid French American chick. Doesn't. Wasted our energy.
Quebec. Okay, that's my accent.
To that point though, and I should just say, because I feel like I'm obligated because this comes up a lot because there's a lot of people in Peterborough who just have never gotten over this, but look, I was 18, 19, 20 once too, and I heard about what a paradise Europe is, and what wonderful, benevolent, and enlightened countries are. It's do you know that they don't believe in God and there's no poor people and everything that you ever need could be taken care of by the government, and well, and in those days it's I wish more Americans knew about other countries. And it's we're so ignorant, we're so focused on ourselves, and we don't know all this stuff, right? But what changed my mind about all of this was actually learning about the other countries, because you have to not know that much about them to actually think that they're a paradise where everyone's enlightened and where no one believes in God, because actually their religious people are they're not Missouri evangelicals, but they also, it was I don't know, only 5 years ago that the French were having riots in some places about gay marriage legalization, against it. You know what I'm saying? They're not irreligious over there. You know what I mean? We did gay marriage years before they did. And just for one instance, right? Their social programs are being carved back. In Britain, poverty has ski graphed past America's. There's twice as much poverty in Britain than there is here now.
And they're you can talk about socialism, and they have social democrats, but they also have fascist right wing parties that are mainstream.
Yeah, and the Scandinavians are the worst example of that. These supposedly benevolent, the most benevolent, the most enlightened of them all are always the Scandinavians. You know what I mean? And they fund their social programs with oil, and you got to be white to live there. You know, like it's, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't fuck around with that. Like that's why they're all Swedes in Sweden. You know, like that's really how it is. And you know, you have to twist yourself in knots as a Europe fetishizer to defend this. You know, because like you know, I mean I don't know how you do, but that's how it works. You know. But anyway, so I like to point those things out. But you know, there's been a lot of changes in the Eurozone. Obviously, you know, Britain left the EU, and but like probably the biggest one was, and I'm not there's no point in taking that much time to go through the reasons here, anyways. But like, you know, Angela Merkel ran Germany for almost 20 years, and as the leader of Germany, very, very powerful woman, you know, probably the most powerful European leader of the 21st century so far. She really held it all together. But like since her departure, like her successors in Germany they've neither really been able to lead Germany nor the EU in the same way that she. I mean, she really had a singular power. And you know, our friend Macron in France has been very overtly trying to sort of take the lead with that, and make France the kind of de facto Eurozone leader. And he's succeeding, I think, in a lot of ways to certain degrees. Not entirely. Like, I think he, you know, when it came to Ukraine, especially early on, if you look at his statements, he was much more resistant to complete support for Ukraine, for refusal to talk to Putin, for a willingness to get off of Russian gas, which I think France is actually less dependent upon it than other places like Germany and such. I think France still has a lot of nuclear power plants that are still working fine, and I think that they're a little bit more insulated. But from a strategic perspective, he didn't believe that was a good idea. But I don't think he was successfully able to chart another course. You know, I mean, the whole European bloc very much went along with the American, the NATO. He wasn't able to, essentially, he wasn't able to really go against the will of NATO, which like is the will of the United States, for those of you keeping score. But, you know, talked about basketball a minute ago. Just a little aside. NBA President David Stern was over in France today with our friend Emmanuel Macron, forming a alliance between the NBA and France. And the NBA in France, so the NBA will cooperate more closely with, I forget the name, but the French Basketball League, and they will begin doing like events and stuff in France sometimes. And together, the NBA and the French, I mean, actually, as I'm saying this out loud, this is so delightfully colonial. The NBA and the French are going to head up basketball operations in Africa. Or like they're going to manage the promotion of and growth of basketball in the African nations. Yeah, interesting actually saying that out loud. Hopefully nobody minds. I guess we'll find out. But the point I'm making is not about recolonization, but that, you know, the NBA is making the deal with France. You know, like that should tell you something about who is in charge of Europe right now. I'm half kidding, but like kind of not really. Like I think that's, you know, the NBA is quintessentially an American enterprise, and as is basketball, and it's spread and in diplomacy through the lens of the spread of basketball. I'm half joking, but like the other half is like, I don't know that we would say that that's entirely insignificant. Something to consider.
Or is it that France is still somewhat like the key to Africa, like African basketball?
Possibly. That's an but even so, I don't know that that's contra the point, though. You know what I mean? Because if France is still the key, then it's like, then we're saying that France is the leading are we saying neo-colonial, re-colonial power? You know, still colonial power, which itself would make them the leader of Europe. You know.
Fair enough, yeah.
Ever since we've invented colonialism, I think that would be the case. So in just interesting to consider. But anyways, let's hope that, I don't know. When I think about, because I like my Southern European, compadres in the south of France, in Italy, in Greece, and I don't really want them to be cold. All jokes aside, I hope they get to keep their warmth. I'd like a piece of it, but like I don't need to do it at their expense. I'm just kidding about that. But while we're still in winter, and we are beginning to get some snowstorms, I want to talk about our relationship as a society with plow drivers and the plow and everything. And there's two posts, and actually Facebook was kind enough to show them to me almost back to back. These are in the censored Peterborough group. I didn't check to see if they're cross posted over on the Freedom side, but it's a post by, I'm sure, a very lovely person, a New Hampshire Department of Transportation plow driver named Shannon Lefebvre. First post that I'm just going to tell you them in the order that I'm seeing them. I'm not sure if it's chronological, but it doesn't matter. We have a storm coming Thursday into late Friday, for those of you who don't look at the forecast. Plan to leave earlier than usual. We at NHDOT, as well as downtown DPWs, will be plowing the roads at 22 to 24 miles per hour, and we will not pull over for you to go by. Also, please don't crowd the plows. Thank you. 251 likes or reactions, I guess. I'm sure there's a variety of them. 29 comments, which almost all of them are just people just falling over themselves to like express their gratitude to the plow drivers. Just absolutely, just with all their heart, wanting to make sure that he knows how grateful they are. And 25 shares even on this thing, right? There's even a guy with a blue check mark who commented on this. Like a Facebook confirmed public figure named Jordan Golson, who is, let's find out who is this guy.
Golson?
Golson. Car reviewer, transportation reporter.
Huh.
Interesting. Okay. Public man. He's a car reviewer. That's kind of cool. When I was a kid, I used to really like car review magazines. I didn't grow up to be like a car guy, but I don't know. Cool. Good. That's nice. But he chimed in to be like, everyone should get winter tires. And sure, I agree. Listen to the transportation report. Anyway, next post. It's a picture this one's a picture of the plow. This one was second. Okay, so I am going in order. The other one he posted like a day ago. 12 hours later, didn't even wait a full day. He said, "It's this." I'm not gonna fucking read this. This is a post shared by somebody else, and actually, this other person who's trying to go viral must be a New Hampshire DOT guy, because that's what the picture of the plow is in the original post. This is like, you get annoyed with them. You're supposed to be at your appointment 20 minutes ago. Now you're stuck behind them. You complain about them because you can do a better job sitting in your warm house typing on a keyboard. You don't always appreciate this. It's just this going on, like, and talking about how the plow driver is a husband, a dad, a grampy, a brother, a son, and a friend. And, again, 123. So maybe less positive than the other one, but more shares, though. 49 shares, 13 comments. Excuse me, 123 likes. And I guess I'm heartened by the fact that slightly fewer people commented, so it's like people didn't feel like they had to say this twice. So like, look, for the love of God, I just want to be clear. I love the plow drivers. They're great. It's great. They do a great job. I'm very happy that the roads get plowed. That's fucking awesome, and I don't crowd the plow drivers. I don't drive around the plow drivers. I know that they're going slow. And in fact, I love it when it's really shitty out and I end up in a line of cars behind the plow, because you know what? The road's going to be great. And that's what I want. I don't want to hurry in the snow because I'm not a fucking moron. And I do have winter tires, I want to be safe and get where I'm going. And, you'd have to be stupid to tailgate a plow, because if you can't stop and you hit them, I mean, those things are big and tank-like, and your car's going to get fucked up. So like, yeah, I get it. I'm real thrilled that they're out there. I had this conversation, I think, on my Facebook page, but not on the pod, like sometime during the break. But it's like, and I just don't feel like displays like this are necessary for like a couple of reasons. One, because like, while it's like nice to be nice to other people, and I think, like I said, I think that I am. I don't fuck with the plow drivers while they're driving. I don't get mad at them. Like, that's stupid, to do that. And I know that people do. But we also don't know every paid profession debt of gratitude, because they do their jobs. Like they get paid, like, and they get paid. We pay them. They get paid with tax money, and it's so, yeah, like that's, to quote Don Draper a little bit, like that's what the money is for, is that's our thank you. And there's, these are in a lot of cases, whether at the town or state level, there's sometimes unions involved, but in any case, there's contracts involved, and they're not low wages, and they get overtime over the 40 hours. That's, which if there's a bunch of snow, that they get paid, they're compensated, and they're fairly well compensated for this, and they do a great job. But again, that is what the money's for, and we're really getting a little bit obscene here. Like, I am always friendly to anyone, like whether they're behind a counter, whether they're plowing or they're delivering the mail or anything else. I really do. I try to make sure that their interaction with me in that day was a good one, and that I'm, I really, honest to God, like, I'm never a dick. But I feel like it started with 9/11, where it was, usually I say it started with the troops, but I guess it started with the police and firefighters before we even went to war.
Right.
That hadn't occurred to me, but it was the police and firefighters first, because they are public servants who have very dangerous jobs for public safety. Okay, I understand. And, they did, of course, very heroic things when the Twin Towers came down. Then when we went to war, you thank all the soldiers for their service, because we went to war. And again, okay, at least in theory, they are serving the country, putting their lives on the line. We, in a democratic society, in theory, we ask them to do this, and they're doing it for us. Like, okay. But then, just like over the years since, and with a lot of acceleration from COVID, it became teachers and nurses too. And then also, but maybe sometimes any clerk in a retail environment, because they're at risk of COVID because they're essential and they have to keep the stores open. And then it's mailmen and package delivery people, and now we extend it to the plow drivers. And we don't have to say thank you or tip everyone, like we don't, because tipping goes next, you know what I mean? Because then it's like, well, you have to tip the mailman, you have to tip the UPS guy, and like all this stuff. Like, they make a full wage, you know what I mean? It's not a tipping profession. It's not friggin' $2.15 an hour. And I'm a good tipper. That's the other thing, is that, like, I'm not a stingy guy. Like, when I'm at a restaurant, I always tip like 25%. And you know what? It's easier math. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's real fucking easy to throw down 25% and like, off the top of your head, and everybody likes it, and it's good. And that's how they make their money. And so I do that. Right. But again, I don't have anything against the mailman, but I don't owe him anything either. He has to do that. That's the law. Like, it's whatever. And like, in a society, like in a big economy, right? And especially like a globalized economy, right? We all depend upon everybody else, like, you guys need me to be the product manager for this random app for this food service company, because if any giant hunk of this economy was pulled out, who knows what the cascading domino effect would be, right? So we're all serving one another in every role that we take in society. And therefore, we can just, why don't we just say that the gratitude is assumed? We're all thankful to everyone else for just living and interacting and like doing work of some kind and like commerce of some kind and like participating together, because it just keeps the whole thing going. But we don't have to think. And the scolding, the people who do crowd the plows and do drive around them and stuff, you know, I think that there's a lot of overlap between them and the people who crash, you know, because like one of the reasons I don't do that, because my first priority in the snowstorm is I'm not going to be one of the people who crashes this time, you know. It's a good rule and it works. I haven't crashed in the snow in years.
You know what, that post, the second post where it's like, he's a brother, he's a father, or whatever, like that reminds me.
Them?
It reminds me of those like old Budweiser commercials, like the Real Men of Genius. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah, I do remember.
And it was
those.
like
Yeah.
it was like over the top, like thank you, Mr. like grocery cart wrangler, and it like, you know, just like turns him into a hero. That reminded me of that.
That's kind of what it's like, and you know, like yeah, like but like who? It's like, are people like throwing eggs at their at the plow? You know what I mean? Everybody likes the plow. You know what I mean? Like nobody hates the plows. You know, like it's just so like, and yes, occasionally somebody might grumble because of the order in which the town operations or the state operations plowed their street or something like that. That's just natural. Try not to take it personally, plow drivers. You know, it's not a hatred. We don't think that you don't have a family. You know what I mean? like he was just bred for this, to be a plow driver. They let him out as soon as he was old enough to drive the thing, and that's all. And when it's not snow season, he is like in a retirement village or something, like, and that's his only purpose. Like no one thinks that, you know, even if they're irritated. You know, it's not a personal thing. But anybody who's going to do the things that you're complaining about in here are also the people who don't give a fuck about your post. They're assholes. Like, because you have to be stupid to know not to crowd a plow or to drive around them, or why the plow is going slow.
Yeah. I'm going to get you 2 bumper stickers for your birthday. Don't
Cool.
crowd the plow, and I break for moose.
Yeah, well, that's another one.
You should wear them both with pride on your
So,
car.
I mean, you know, breaking for moose is something that we haven't talked about on the show, but I've just been wondering of late, actually been wondering my entire life. My buddy Billy, when I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade, he went, like his family went somewhere like, you know, to like the White Mountains or like Vermont or something, and like he bought this bumper sticker that said, "Break for moose, it could save your life," and like put it on the headboard of his bed. He really liked it, you know? And I was like, what the fuck, you know? And he's like, "It could save your life, like the moose will kill you." And I was like, you know, all right, that's just like a weird thing to talk about, right? But it's still going on 30 years later, right? And I just want to know why we have to call it out. Like, because half of everybody that I know breaks for squirrels, right? You know what I mean? Like, people fucking break for everything. And if you've ever seen a moose, like, there's no illusion. I mean, like, a deer will bang up the front end of your car if you, like, accelerate into it. Like, a big enough turkey can put a decent little dent in you if you were to just...
Do you know that from experience?
No, I just know how much they weigh. You know what I mean? Like, it's an animal. You know what I mean? Like, it's you know, ka-thunk, you know, like, if you just, like, you know, maybe you don't care about that, but most people do, I think. And most people aren't you know, this isn't the 70s where we're all driving, like, steel tanks that, you know...
Well, that's what made me think of it, is like the people who are not going to break for animals might be the same people that are not going to, you know, that are going to like go around a plow, and they may be unreachable.
Like, if you see this like 500-pound horse on stilts with antlers that is a moose, like blocking your path, and you're like, I'm going to teach this bastard a lesson. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you are unreachable, there's no public service campaign that's going to help you. Like,
man. A moose weighs more like 1,000 pounds. Just
1,000 pounds.
Needed to fact check that.
God Almighty, 1,000 pounds. Like, you see this
crazy,
this beast. Like, it truly is like, it's maybe the only thing that's around here that's potentially more terrifying than a bear. And I mean, it's arguable because it looks like less of a monster, but just size-wise, it's it's monstrous.
I don't know, like those horns and that nose, that's a monster.
It's monstrous.
Bears are kind of cute.
I know, but they've got that snout that can just eat you, you know? Like, because the moose, if the moose is going to kill you, right, it's going to kill you with its hoof, most likely, or I guess it could butt you with its antlers, right? But, like, it's not going to eat you with its teeth. And to me, there's just something slightly more frightening than about being killed by sharp jaws or sharp claws. You know, both of those are. But either way, it's a scary thing, and no one in their car or truck is just going to be like, YOLO, you know, like, I mean, I like, what, so why do we tell each other this? Like, you know, it's just an unnecessary message. But yeah, God bless you, Shannon, and thank you so fucking much for driving the plow, but we get it. The decent people are not going to fuck with you, but we can't really do anything about the indecent ones. Right? All right, we've got a little bit left in the program. I do want to talk just a tiny bit about what we haven't looked at the. Not that most of the time it's felt like missing out, but we haven't. We'd be remiss if we never looked at the newspaper to see what's going on. And I think there's a couple of things worth maybe mentioning in there.
Maybe one. What was
Probably one. The MLK celebration thing,
the
right?
MLK celebration? That.
Yeah, and what's interesting is not what is on the page, but what is not on the page.
All right, should I try to show the whole?
Yeah, I might as well hold it up. I don't know if people can see it. This is in the edition that came out today, Thursday the 19th. If anybody's a subscriber and has this, you can see this for yourself.
This is like Hancock's
layout.
Celebration.
Like a big old photo layout of their MLK Day celebration, which happened earlier this week. Not much text, but like three, one huge picture and like three smaller pictures.
And the text is just the Hancock Conversations on Race group held its 5th annual celebration honoring the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Monday at Hancock Congregational Church. The theme was beloved community, and speakers talked about it. It's basically what the blurb said.
Well, so I was told after the fact, I wasn't aware of this. I wasn't super familiar with this event. I wasn't keeping up with it. No offense to Martin Luther King. My company didn't give us that day off. You know what I mean? It just, I'm sorry. I didn't really commemorate it, but, so I missed that. But our friend of the pod and representative of Hillsborough 33, Jonah Wheeler, was one of the headliners of the event. And he's not mentioned or pictured there, which I find unusual. And I obviously don't have enough information to like levy accusations here. And I'm sure that there's at least a reason that can be said to explain it, whether or not it's true. But I find it curious that I was about a month ago, maybe a little bit more. It was our first attempt at a Christmas episode, actually. So it was a little bit more than a month ago. We pointed out that the paper did this gigantic profile, very uncritical, didn't call anybody, didn't fact check anything, didn't do anything about Ivy Van, who, as everyone knows, lost the race, the three-way race for Hillsborough 33 because of Jonah. Usually you don't do that giant profile on the loser, you do it on the winner, and they did not ever do one on Jonah, and he mysteriously didn't appear in that article, and now he doesn't show up in this article. So it's kind of like, is there a freeze out here? Is Jonah being blackballed coverage wise? I mean, sometimes I think we know a little bit about what that's like. So it wouldn't be unusual. Actually, I do think it would be unusual in that case because he's our elected representative and he's a very charismatic fellow. who has a lot of great things to say, and everyone really likes his presence. So it's yeah, he would be the first one you would take a picture of and like get a quote from for something like that. If you were just trying to sell papers, you know what I mean, like or show the most exciting thing you can, you would show Jonah. So there's definitely no rational explanation for this. I don't know. It's interesting that.
It's interesting.
I find it a little suspicious.
Yeah. Are
you talking about the sculpture?
Yeah, I want to talk about the sculpture. So
Yeah.
I know there's this like giant picture of this, like it's two hands. There's like a darker hand and a lighter hand. It looks like perhaps a pit bull, severed them at the wrist here. But it reminded me of that new sculpture in Boston, like the of Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, like embracing, but it's just their arms. And it's like, so we have our own little mini, like headless, disembodied limb embrace sculpture here.
Like, what's out there in the collective unconscious that is making two disembodied Martin Luther King sculptures appear in New England on like the same day? Like what's like, that's kind of a weird
It is weird,
right? And it's a weird choice for a commemorative sculpture. A lot of people, I haven't heard a lot of comments about our local one, probably because it's small, I think, from what it looks like on the thing. The Boston one is like gigantic, and it's in Boston Common, and like you can like walk underneath it. You know what I mean? Like it's huge, right? But a lot of people seem to hate it. I don't think it's particularly good. Some people think it's phallic, and it's hard to refute that because they didn't put heads on them. So it's hard to be like, no, that's a arm going up to a shoulder and not genitalia, because the shoulder usually has a head attached to it, and they decided not to include that part of the person in this sculpture.
There are some angles of it that you would not know that it was arms.
It's questionable.
From the pictures that I've seen.
It's a questionable choice to do. I don't know. I'm a little bit weirded out. I don't think it's very good. I want there to be a good Martin Luther King sculpture. Like, why don't you make a statue of the guy? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, have you ever seen a marble statue of like a famous figure? They're great. They're awesome. Like, you don't need to overthink that. The public garden right next to the Common in Boston, for example. Actually, the Common itself has a row of wonderful statues of mostly like abolitionist figures going down the line that are just they're the image of the person, right? The public garden, just a few hundred yards away, has a magnificent George Washington, like just like up on his horse with a sword, and it's like it's huge and awesome. Just do something like that, like. I mean, I don't know, but it doesn't have to be abstract and like this weird, like what does that even say? Like the husband and wife hugged each other, so we had civil rights. Like it just.
I mean, does it even say that when you don't even know who they are?
When you don't even know what it is, right? No, I don't think so. It's a really strange, like artistic and.
Like the idea of like arms intertwining as like a public art sculpture that you can like interact with and go under, like maybe is interesting. Yeah. But like as a commemorative sculpture for like a specific couple.
Right.
Without their heads.
It's in like a major city park too. It's not like a museum piece. You know what I mean? Like it's a big permanent part of a 400-year-old park,
Yeah. I just find the headlessness like disturbing.
Yeah.
I mean, the plow drivers talk about them being dehumanized.
What have we done to?
What does it mean to like make a sculpture of someone when you take their face away? Like a commemorative sculpture that you like remove their identity from. It's
pretty weird. It's pretty weird. All right. Well, we have made a solemn vow because it's just been far too long, and we do have a duty here. And like, because usually like we try to keep these episodes to around an hour, right? And we when we're being disciplined about it, and a lot of times and sometimes, to be frank with our audience here, it's not just about discipline, it's about we feel that we maybe don't have enough local events or stories or topics to talk about. But we usually save 10 minutes or so for the misconnections. We didn't do that this time, but we want to do them because it really has been like 2 months at least, maybe 3, since we have touched base and like helped people maybe connect. So we got to do at least a few of these.
Yeah, we can do a few.
Yeah. You can go first if you can, though, because I really need to adjust my location here because it's wrong.
Okay. I do have one to start with. It's a grocery store classic. The Fort Eddie Hannaford. I guess.
Okay. Where's that?
I guess maybe is that a street in Concord? Because it says Concord. Hannaford
okay.
Fort Eddie.
Somewhere. That's fine. Yeah.
All right. The title is Hannaford Fort Eddie 114 Steak and Wine, Concord. And now this one, we've talked about this before. I really think this might be a woman. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yep.
To the man I met in the checkout line on Saturday afternoon, January 14th. Taking a chance. Never posted here before, but I can't stop thinking about you. We met in line at Hannaford's. We talked about steak and wine. I loved your personality, humor, and looks. I noticed no ring. Wanted to give you my number, but I chickened out. If you happen across this, please reach out. If not, well, maybe I'll shop there again more in hopes to see you again.
It could be. It's not, usually we can, I feel like we can, at least, and you're usually the one who does it, actually, flat out rule out it being a woman. And you can't do that here, which I think is compelling.
I think, if it's a M for M, I don't know if the ring would matter. You know what I mean? Like, just...
Yeah.
And it might, there's no hint of, gayness to me.
No, certainly not. No, I don't get that vibe at all. Yeah, no, you're right.
And there's just enough hesitation that makes me think it could be a woman.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense.
I like the start of this story. I hope that they do find each other.
Me too. So here's one that appears not a well, actually, so it's actually Walmart in North Conway, which, if my memory serves me, is actually a grocery store Walmart, I think. So I think this counts. And they are talking about food. The title of this is a very short story here, but I like the it's confident, this one. It's really, I don't know. So the title is That Is Good Bread. And all it says is, you'll know who I am if you are interested in getting to know each other. Period. I would. Period. So not strong on the grammar in this one, but definitely very much like, you know who I am. Let's get to know each other. Not a lot of information. So really, this was only 5 days ago too. Really confident. Good bread, Walmart, North Conway.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, this is a dude, for sure. Yeah.
I've got another Walmart one. This isn't super exciting, but it's Keene. So I feel like, it's the most local one that I'm seeing right now.
Okay, yeah, I saw that one. Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll do it just as a local service.
Absolutely.
Brunette, shorter hair, boots, nice blue eyes around 2 p.m. Monday 1/9. You were behind me in line, and both smiled as the cashier was struggling with something. Grab a coffee or drink sometime?
Nice. Yep, I like that. That is a good one. That's local, everybody. So Walmart and Keene.
Keep an eye out.
Monday the 9th. Were you there around 2 p.m.? Nice blue eyes. Brunette, shorter hair.
Yeah.
Both smiled. So here's an interesting one. And based on the punctuation, I don't know. You tell me. But I think it's possible that this is a woman as well. Okay? Or an M for M, potentially. But this is someone talking to a man, for sure. You tell me if you think it's a guy or a girl. But and this is probably looks like a little bit up north, right? But all it says is the title is Guy with Plow on a Red Ford Truck Waving on 93 North in New Hampshire. Okay? And this sounds like if these two people connect, like I think sparks right away, based on the tone of this. But I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you wanted me to take that exit with you. Exclamation, exclamation. Then I ended up getting a call that I had to take, so I couldn't stop further on. Tell me the make, model, and color of the vehicle I was driving and the exit you wanted me to take, and I'll make sure to buy you a coffee or a beer to make up for it. Exclamation mark. What do you think?
I think it's a man.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's a M for M plow hookup.
Which I could see, which I could absolutely see.
Yeah.
And let me ask this. Do you think that that's because it's more difficult to imagine a woman willing to follow the plow guy,
yes,
the stranger, off of the exit in northern New Hampshire? That does
that is
seem like
exactly why.
To end up as a mystery in one of those serial killer groups, serial killer New England groups. Definitely. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, that's a compelling argument, because that would be a really horny thing to do. Like, I mean, you'd be putting yourself in a lot of danger, to do that as a woman, you know, like.
I guess it could happen though. I mean, I guess, you know.
I mean, dude's got a truck. He can transport a body. You know what I mean? Like right off the, like I don't know.
Who knows what kind of like interaction they were having down the highway, though? You know?
Yeah, I know. Right, waving, but like waving and wanting you to get off, but unsuccessfully communicating it right away, and it only sunk in later. You know what I mean? And
then, like, yeah, I think it's a man. Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm not. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
But that might be a good one to end on, because it's like the plow guy. See, we don't just like the plow guys. We want them to have love.
We want them to find love. We want them to find love. You know, regardless of the flavor.
Yeah.
You know, love is love, and you know, we'll also pour one out tonight for the great David Crosby, who has died. I've heard people get the outro music going here. Well, I really like David Crosby, and I like the Birds and Crosby, Stills, Nash. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young is great. He's a great fellow. You know, somebody pointed out that he was an asshole, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, sometimes the great ones are, you know. He's a crazy man, you know. But other people, he's 81 years old. Other people I've seen been like, why don't they tell us the cause of death? And I'm like, the cause of death is being 81. Doesn't really need to be much more than that. So that's it for this week, folks. Special thanks to our sound lord. He deserves our props, regardless of whether he puts the music on at the beginning and the end. We love him anyway, and we're very eager to hear when he can analyze our tracks and compare the quality to what he usually receives, if this new platform is truly superior. But Chad's our producer. He's got an outfit called Studio117.net, and if you reach out to him there, you can receive his services on anything sonic, anything sound related, anything where you need someone, whether it's yourself or a wide audience, to get some pleasant stimulation of some kind into their ear, whether it's mixing, production, you know, consultation about setup, actually coming to run sound at your event, whatever it is, reach out to Chad. But you might not be able to get him because his other gig is as the lead guitarist for the premier hot dad rock band of New England, Down by 10. And they're going all around. They've got gigs like every weekend. It's crazy. They're going to be harder and harder to book for your programs. So catch them while you can. And before the music ends, I got to stop. So, you know, all the links are in the show notes. Reach out to Chad. He's a great guy. Thanks very much. Until we see you again in the Space Lounge, watch out for more bonus episodes with Andrew for the budget stuff. We're going to keep doing that. But until we meet again, remember, take good advice. We'll see you next time in the Space Lounge.